a little later this week, but we're still rocking and rolling here. A lot of plants going on, a lot of great things coming up here. I want to talk about some of the things that I've done this weekend, and I want to show you some of my purchases from the weekend as well. There's also go back and cover those marigolds that I planted out last week, because lo and behold, in less than a week, almost all of them have already sprouted and come up. So I want to get into that real quick as well. I also want to show you some of the Cycleman. Now, more in the UK, it's more Cycleman, but here in me, I'm American, so Cycleman is what I've always called them. And some of the other things I've purchased this week, because this is a great time to get down to the garden center and start picking up some of your spring flowering, and even some of your summer plants, some of the summer plants. All right, I want to start out by just going through some of the things that I've been working on here and some of the things that I purchased. Let's go, just walk through the list of all of the plants, everything that I have, just take a quick look at it. And the first one you can see is this beautiful, absolutely stunning begonia. You're like, why is it in a box? Because when I purchased it, they gave it to me in a box. Set the box to the side. The box is not important, guys. It is about this begonia. Now, the thing about it, the name is kind of smudged off, but it's I want to say Metallica, but the name is smudged. So I can't really see if that says Metallica or not, but you can see that. It's a beautiful begonia. And look at the texturization. I'm going to look it up later on. Maybe is it written on the pot? No, it's not written on the pot. But I'll look it up later to see exactly which one it is. It's one of the taller. So this is that one in the back. Uh-oh, we lost connection there for a second. Okay. Whoa, we have technical difficulties. We lost connection. And there we go. Hope you guys can see me. Hope you can hear me. Kind of, it dropped. That's the crazy thing about live. It dropped. But I was showing you this begonia. Look at that. This is one of my favorites right now. I have some others here that I like as well. I'm just looking at one of my other begonia that I like a lot. Let me take my mic off real quick. Now here's another, and I'm not gonna break out all the begonia. I can do that in a separate video. Now here's another begonia that I like a lot. Now this is a begonia, it is begonia rex. Oh, let me get this out of here. Not exactly remembering which variety it is. It's struggling because I wasn't providing enough light for it. It wasn't getting enough light. And what I had to do was buy some grow lights and put it on top of it. It has moisture. I can reach down into the pond. It has some moisture in there. There's water in the pot, but it's not vertical, right? It's grown back out. So it had died back and it's grown back out. But look at the beautiful coloration there. What I'm waiting for though, and I may just need to add a bit more water to it because it shouldn't be droopy like this. So I'm gonna add some more water. The pot's saying that there's water in it, but the pot may be down, just the water level might be a little bit too low. I'm gonna water this and get it back up. I wanted to show you these leaves because for me, the begonia is all about the leaves, right? These are indoor. I keep this indoor. And it is beautiful. And it has a bloom on it, but the bloom is insignificant. For me, it is really all about this. But the plant's a little droopy right now, unfortunately. I'm going to set it to the side, and I'm going to water that a little later. But I had to put a grow light directly over it. And since I put the grow light directly over it, it has tripled in size. So it was not getting enough light. It's now getting enough light, and I'm concerned with that droopiness in the leaves and the stems that maybe it's not getting enough water. So I'm going to water pretty heavy. This one, I'm going to repot, but I'm not going to repot it today. I just want to show it to you because I think it is absolutely beautiful. Look how textured that leaf is. And then it's glossy. It's like a high gloss texture, but this is a beautiful begonia. I bought this at the Birmingham Botanical Garden. I went to the Birmingham Botanical Garden yesterday for a Cycleman show, which is a winter blooming plant, and I have some of those. I bought some of those as well. I'll show it to you. But while I was leaving, they have a garden shop there, and I checked out the garden shop, and they had this beautiful begonia, and I'm like, okay, this has to go home with me. Just set that to the side. Talking about cyclamen, I don't have any that's in bloom, but they had this really cute little one here. It says Maribel, and it's really nice. And I bought that tiny one. For me, it's all about foliage again. Look at the variegation on those leaves. And then I bought this one, another cyclamen. These bloom in the fall, and then when it gets hot, as you're heading towards the late spring into summer, they go dormant. A lot of people think they're dying. So if you keep them indoors, they'll bloom, it'll grow for you. But when your room heats up, your home heats up above like 69 degrees Fahrenheit, of course. When it heats up to, into the 70s and 80s, it gets hot inside your home, these will go dormant. And when they go dormant, a lot of people think they're dying. They're not dying, they go dormant. They're tubular. So it's a round, like an onion in there, but it's not what it is, it's not an onion. But it has a round bulb, and it's a perennial, and it'll come back. So when it goes dormant, you need to take it and sit it in a cool spot. I'm gonna do a whole video where I cover these plants in detail, but I bought those two, and I picked up this one as well. You can kind of see here, it's a bit of a pinky pink kind of a bloom. Look at that. I got this one, and oh yeah, I loaded up. But you can notice all of the leaves have a slightly different shape. You see, this is very heart shaped. The first one is more of a round shape. The leaves have different shape. They're all variegated. And it's just all about the foliage. Just like that begonia, this begonia is about that long, beautiful stem and about that foliage. These cyclamen also about the foliage. Look at that. Has that it's not lime green, it's almost a silvery green color to it. Cyclamen. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these, but that's not it. I actually also picked up, and I don't see them right now, it must be off to the side somewhere, I already put them up. I bought some seeds as well. So I'm gonna plant out some seeds, and these will bloom next fall. Those seeds, unfortunately, take a couple years. So the first year, this plant is probably around 2 years old, based on the size of the leaves. So it takes a couple years for them to bulk up enough to bloom. They'll be there, they'll grow. You need to give it time, and it'll slowly produce that bulb, and it'll bloom. This one is big enough to bloom right now, I can tell you, but it's not gonna bloom again to the fall. When it gets hot, it's gonna go dormant. It's a beautiful plant, but I just love the foliage. I'm gonna set these off to the side. So yesterday, at the Birmingham Botanical Garden, they had a cyclamen show. Again, here in the UK, it's more of a cycleman show. My pronunciation is not quite British enough, but it's more of a cycleman show. And I went there at the Birmingham Botanical Garden, and it was a beautiful show. That video is gonna be coming out on the channel. I filmed the show. Mostly I just filmed what the flowers look like because they had over 350 different variety of them on display, and many of them were in bloom. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful show. So if you have a botanical garden anywhere near you, anywhere around you, go to the website, and you can see what's going on there throughout the year. I'm going to be doing a lot of things also at the Cambridge Botanical Garden. I've actually signed up for a couple courses there. There's this one course on growing succulents. I really want to get into that course, and I haven't been able to get into it yet. The courses, they put out at the beginning of the year, they put out their whole itinerary for the whole year, and then you go through and you look at all the different courses. There's a lot of different courses, especially at Cambridge. And so Cambridge has a lot of courses, and after looking at Cambridge's website, signing up for a couple of the courses, they have beginning gardening, intermediate gardening, gardening design, art with gardening, just all different types of things related to the botanicals and horticulture, which is really great. I decided to go and check out the Birmingham website. Thanks, Corey. I will definitely keep up the good work. I appreciate that. So I went to the Birmingham website, and I saw yesterday they were having the show, the national show, and I was like, hey, I have to go. This is a wonderful opportunity. Jetted over to Birmingham, was about an hour away, and picked up all of these. Again, I'm gonna do a video on them in more detail, covering them. That won't be a live. I'm just showing you in this live what I purchased, but I'll actually do a full video on those. There'll be 2 videos, one video of the show, and then the other video going into details about the care for this particular type of plant. But moving on, I went to another garden center today because I'm on the hunt now for starting to get prepped up for my summer plants. And these I picked up. I love these. I love getting these because, you could grow plants from seed, right? Last week I planted these marigolds and these marigolds. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. And that's really cool. You could do it, saves you a lot of money, and doesn't necessarily save you a lot of time, but it definitely saves you a lot of money. But they had these petunias, and I just want to show the different varieties that I picked up. I love petunias. They're annuals. You have to replant them every year, but they just give off so many blooms per plant. And the plant kind of grows, doesn't grow very tall, and then it'll kind of vine out across the summer, and it'll just bloom and bloom and bloom all summer long. Look at that one, right? I thought that was really cool. This is Petunia Lavender Blush. And I was like, oh, that is a really nice petunia. So I picked that one up. And this is Petunia, oh, I can't even read that one, Diane, but just the white color, creamy white. And this is a classic old school, just a purple petunia. So I thought about the color combinations, and I'm like, you know what, let me do a blend of whites and purples. Here's another purple, look at that, but that's a blousy, double petaled, more of a triple petaled, right? It's a double petal bloom. And these petunias, if I put them outside right now, they're gonna die, right? You have to wait till after any risk of frost before you put these outside. They cannot handle anything like these cold temperatures. So I'm gonna keep these indoors. I'm gonna pot them up probably to a larger pot. Look at that dark purple. They say there's black velvet, but it's more of a dark purple, not a true black. Look at that. This one doesn't really match the color scheme, but I just thought it'd be really cool to pick that up as well. And then lastly, again, more of that peachy, kind of a yellow peachy. I've got two of those. So what I'm gonna do with these, I'm gonna put these into larger cells. I have some little pots. I don't see them around right now, but the pots are roughly the size of this cup, right? About the size of this cup. So I'm gonna repot these into, now these are going into straight up garden and soil. These are going outside. So these are not going into like the pond, which I've been using for all my indoor plants. These are going to go into soil, which I purchased, compost, and put this in a larger pot because these will be transplanted outside. These will not all go into the same bed, but I will scatter them across the entire garden, across multiple beds, and they will blend in really, really well. But knowing that this is only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is 8 plants. And let's just be honest, when you're talking about flower beds, 8 plants isn't going to give you that much coverage, because that's what you want to do. You're thinking about covering the ground. You want to cover that space. You want to fill in that entire bed. I purchased these petunia seeds. So I'm going to actually plant these seeds as well. So I'm going to have these 8, and I got them, and I thought about it. I said, okay, I can buy seeds. Let me see what seeds they have. So I looked at the garden center, and here's a blend. Look at that. It's kind of a lilac, just really nice. It's not really quite lavender, but just purple and creamy. Just a nice blend. And I said, okay, these will look great in a pot on the patio. I may throw some of these in with my strawberries. I love to blend vegetables and ornamentals together. This 8, not a lot of coverage. I can do a whole tray out of the amount of seeds that's going to be in here. So I'm going to plant these up. What else did I pick up? I just looking around, and I love marigolds. Planted these marigolds last week, and they had a new one there. And this is African marigolds. These are French. What I planted last week were French marigolds, some of my favorites. This time, I decided to rock with an African marigold, and it's this yellow, creamy peach color. You also notice I use that same color, very similar color, in this petunia. I guess it's, every year you lean towards different colors. This year, I'm leaning towards this very faint, pale yellow, this creamy, peachy color. It's not even peachy, just kind of a creamy, off-white color, pale yellow. And that's what this is. And look at that. I just think that looks really good. And again, marigolds. And marigolds grow so easy from seed. I'm gonna plant these. Talking about petunias, all of these are petunias, different varieties. They're vining. They have to be watered throughout the year. but they produce a lot of blooms for you. They're not necessarily set it and forget it. I mean, you put these in a bed, if it gets really hot throughout the summer and you don't water your beds, they may not necessarily die. Well, they will die if you don't give them enough water, but they will definitely not thrive. They have to be watered on a periodic basis. You really want to keep these watered. You want to keep the soil slightly moist, not drenched, but slightly moist. That will give you the conditions to produce and grow some really beautiful petunias. I'm going to set those to the side. And I'm going to pot these up. Not today. So we're going to plant these marigolds, and we're going to plant these petunias. And then you're looking on the wall because you're in the garden center. You're just looking around. This is what I do. I know what I go in there to buy. I know what I want to get. Then I always leave room for, okay, what if I want to get something different? And I saw different. Cactus. Now, again, I've talked about it before. I have kids, right? My kids are young, and one of the hardest things to do is to keep them out of this room. I have so many plants back here, but a lot of these plants, they're beautiful, but they're not completely kid safe, meaning they are toxic. To some degree, a lot of plants are toxic. If you pick them up and put them in your mouth and chew on them or ingest them, they can create a lot of gastrointestinal problems for you. Some of the plants, such as the amaryllis, some of the alocasia, some of the philodendrons, all toxic to children. So I had to keep the kids out of here because I don't want them breaking off leaves and chewing on them. And that's something that I'm always cognizant of. The plants that are the worst, though, I keep them up high so the kids can't get to them. And some of the ones that are the worst, aside from the gastrointestinal problems, are the cactus. I have a couple of cactus back here. They're up high. The kids are like 1.5, so they can only reach so high. But I was like, hey, look at that. Now, these appear to be predominantly barrel cactus. Does it even say? I'm going to read real quick and see if it says what type of cactus are in here. But sow in a warm windowsill. One warm kitchen windowsill is all you need to start these seeds. It gives you more details. Do not water at all between October and March. That's more of a dormant season for these. But they're indoor perennials is what they're calling them. Enough for 30 plants. But there appear to be on the cover different variety of cactus, or if they're all the same, it says flowers of the desert. Now, I don't know if flowers of the desert, I think flowers of the desert mean just a blend. But I was like, you know what? I've never grown cactus from seed before. I've done a lot of things from seed, never grown cactus from seed. And I was like, what does small cactus even look like? What do they come up looking like? And I was thinking, okay, this is a perfect opportunity for me to purchase some cactus. I mean, look at that. And so I'm gonna get a tray with some grit, some well-drained soil, because it's cactus, so I know they're gonna need well-drained soil. I know they don't wanna sit with soggy feet. Those are not the conditions that they grow in. They grow in conditions that are predominantly dry, and there will be moisture that rains at a period of time, and then it will dry back out again, and that soil is gonna be quick draining soil. So I know which type of soil I need to get on these cactus. I'm gonna get a nice, I may go find a specific cactus compost soil and grow some cactus. That'll be a nice project. Follow along with me, see how that goes. Lastly, and I know you like, I did a lot of purchasing. I did do a lot of purchasing. Let's go through this last little tray here. This is the last little bit that I purchased. You can't send me to a garden center. I went to a botanical garden, went shopping there. That was the Begonia and the Cycleman. And then I went to a garden center, and I can't help it. You see me in those conditions, in those environments, I'm gonna buy a couple plants. This is a Begonia, and I actually have some Begonia like this already, and I like to buy my Begonia from bulbs, but I was like, oh, look at that. It's a cute little Begonia there. So I picked that up. I'm gonna get that in a pot. And I got two of those, exactly the same. It's gonna get that nice yellow, bicolored, that yellow red bloom. I think that's gonna look really good. And I decided to add to my collection of geraniums. I love geraniums. Old school plant, hardy plant, can take almost any kind of condition. This is Happy Thought Red. That's going to be just a red geranium. A lot of people call pelargoniums geraniums. I'm not going to go into that, but a lot of pelargoniums are not geraniums. Geraniums are their own separate, but these are all geraniums and not actually pelargoniums. There's another Happy Thought Red. I bought it because it has this beautiful variegation. Look at that variegated leaf. I already have geraniums in a pot. I don't know if you can see it. This pot right here, that's geranium. I picked this plant up out in the woods. Someone had, like an old shrub pile, and they dumped probably a plant that they thought was dead, of geraniums, and growing in the woods were these geraniums. And I dug up a small piece of it like 3 or 4 years ago, brought it in, and it has been in this pot. It sits indoors. It grows indoors. This geranium is indoors. They can grow outside. That's typically the environment that you keep them in. But this one has been very happy in a pot in the house. And so why not add some more to it? I may pull out some of this that's in the pot, clear out a space, and then just get a bit more color in that pot with this variegated leaf. And then those have like a purple bloom. This has a red bloom. And I picked up this other one here as well, burgundy red, precision burgundy red. Another geranium, not a variegated leaf, right? Very solid colored leaf. 2 of those. Picked up 2 of those. So that's the end of the shopping haul. I had a nice shopping haul. The thing is, when you go and do a lot of gardening shopping, you pick up these plants, right? And you get these other, like these petunias, and you get all these beautiful plants, you add them. But what you have to do is follow through. I don't know, like if you go shopping and you buy something, it's in a bag, you sit it down in the corner, and you go on and just walk past that for like a couple weeks, and things, if you didn't buy food, if it's non-perishable, it'll just sit there. And you look, oh, I gotta get that stuff. You can't do that with plants, especially with live plants. When you buy live plants, now you're on the hook. So when I bought these, this tray was sitting in a larger tray that had moisture in it, water, right? So I know that these plants, and I can touch these cells, and the type of growing material, the starting material that they use to grow these plants in, it is not moisture retentive at all. It will not hold a lot of moisture. So if you don't get these into a pot, watered, within days, they will die. This will die on me, absolutely, gone. The begonia, a little more we're gonna just pretend that didn't happen. I'm gonna clean all that up. The begonia, a little more forgiving. I have a bit more time with that. These cycleman, if they dry out, they'll go dormant. I have a little more time because they're perennial, have a bulb in there. All those fell over. I'll clean those up. But these petunia, I got a couple days with these. If I don't get these into the ground within a day or 2, they're gonna dry up and they're gonna die. So you definitely, when you buy these small plants, these plants don't have a large root system. They don't have a lot of leaves on them. They're very young, they're very tender. You can't take them and put them outside because it's the wrong time of year. The garden centers are selling them, and they really should say, hey, don't put this outside right now. You put this outside, it's 39 degrees out there. This will be dead. It's raining a lot. The conditions aren't right for this yet to go outdoors. So you buy it, you have to keep it indoors. So you can go to the garden center and pick up a lot of things that are great. I put out a video today on the channel, and it's about things that can go outside right now, which are daffodils and irises and some other things that you can put outside. Check that video out, it's really short. But it just talked about if you didn't get your garden started in the fall, you can jumpstart this spring garden and get a beautiful look right now because they're planting, the garden centers are selling these bulbs that are already sprouted. They've already come up, and you can go and buy them. You pay a little premium for them. But yeah, you can go ahead and get those right now. They can go out. These are more summer plants. You can't do that. Lastly, I want to show you what I have going on here. We planted these last week. Look at them. These are the marigolds that we planted last week, and they're already coming up. Now this last row here is just starting to sprout. The first one's coming up. But look at these, already sprouting. This row's not doing so much. This row, a couple coming up here. But these marigolds already sprouted out 1 week. I just had to keep them in the right conditions. There's plenty of moisture, plenty of water in that container. I'm gonna keep this over right now, just kind of keep this lid on it. Keeps the humidity up, keeps a lot of that moisture in there on the plant, which keeps it from, drying out. The biggest thing that you have to be concerned about when these plants are young, you have to be concerned about plants drying out. So your seedlings, they don't have a lot of energy in the plant. Once they get sprouted, you have to make sure you keep them wet. You can't overwater them because those little roots will rot and they'll die. But you have to make sure that you don't let them dry out. These little guys dry out, they're gonna fall over, and even if you water them, they don't have enough energy typically to stand back up. That's it, you have to start all over. So these have to keep the right amount of moisture. Those 2 little leaves on that. These petunias, a little bit bigger, a tiny bit more forgiving, but these plants are very young. Young plants, just like young people, just like young animals, you have to care for them. You know, more nurturing, more care. Once you get these plants up, large, get them out in the garden, get them planted in the ground. You know, if you skip a week on watering, they'll be okay. They will survive typically, but they won't do good now while they're still really young. They need that extra care. I made a horrible mess over here, guys, where all my cyclamen just fell out of the pots. It's in a lot of grit, so I have a lot of grit and soil on the floor, and that's gonna keep me pretty busy. I'm gonna cut this live a little short because I wanna get that whole thing cleaned up. I got started a little late this week. I wanted to run a really long live. What I'm looking to do next week though, is I will probably be we'll be potting up some of these Petunia that can hold till next week, and we will be potting up some of these marigolds. And that's what we'll probably be looking at doing next week. So if you want to follow along and see the steps that you take on how to pot up petunias and how to pot up marigolds, how to plant those seedlings. Right now there's seeds to get you to seedlings. I'll be covering that next week. I will also more than likely get some of these cactus in the ground because I just think that's really cool to grow some cactus. I don't want that many, so you know, I have to be careful about not growing too many. But I don't know how well that they will that they'll grow. But we'll see how well these sprout up for us. Hey, I'm going to cut this a little short this week. I got to clean up this mess that I just made. But I appreciate everyone who jumped on the live. I always appreciate everyone jumping on the live with me. I'm going to try to make sure next week I have a bit more time. Until next time, guys, do take care.